My name is Liam. 10 years ago, I was the future. At 24, I was the youngest investigative reporter at the Sentinel, the most respected newspaper in the country. And my boss, my mentor, was Marcus Thorne. Marcus was a legend. A Pulitzer winner. He had this deep, calming voice and a mind like a steel trap. He found me at my college paper, saw my potential, and took me under his wing. "You have the nose, kid," he'd say. "You can smell a story. Don't ever lose that." I would have taken a bullet for that man. Instead, I ended up taking one from him. For 6 months, I had been deep undercover on a story. A massive chemical corporation, Askreddit, was illegally dumping toxic waste into a local river, and I'd found an internal whistleblower. A terrified accountant named Frank, who had the documents to prove it. I spent nights in my car, had secret meetings in parking garages. I recorded hours of audio interviews with Frank. It was the biggest story of the decade. I brought the package to Marcus. He read it, his eyes wide. "Liam," he said, putting a hand on my shoulder. "This is it. This is the one. This is your Pulitzer." We worked on it together for a week. He helped me shape the narrative. The day before publication, he called me into his office. "Liam, the board is nervous. Askreddit is a major advertiser. They're worried about a lawsuit from a junior reporter. They want my name on it as lead author, just to give it weight. You'll be co-author, of course. We'll win this together." I was disappointed, but I understood. Whatever it takes to get the story out, Marcus. The story dropped. It was an explosion. It dominated the news for weeks. Askreddit stock plummeted. The government launched an investigation. And the headline read, by Marcus Thorne. Additional research by Liam Kent. Additional research. I was stunned. I went to his office. "Marcus, this isn't what we agreed." "Calm down, kid," he said, not looking up from his computer. "It's a typo. We'll fix it in the digital edition. Don't be dramatic." But then, Askreddit fought back. They didn't just deny the story. They sued the Sentinel for $100 million. And they launched a vicious, personal smear campaign against me. They claimed my whistleblower, Frank, didn't exist. They claimed I fabricated the interviews. I wasn't worried. I had the tapes. "Marcus," I said, "let's just release the audio. Let's play the tapes. It'll end this." Marcus looked at me. His eyes weren't warm anymore. They were cold. "We can't do that, Liam. It would compromise our source. But our source is being called imaginary. We have to." "The answer is no, Liam. Let the legal team handle it." 2 days later, I was called into an emergency meeting with the board. Marcus was there. "Liam," the CEO said, "we have a serious problem. Marcus has informed us that you've confessed." My blood turned to ice. "Confessed? Confessed to what?" Marcus spoke. His voice was thick with fake sadness. "I'm so sorry, Liam. He told me this morning. He was under too much pressure. He fabricated the key interviews. The man named Frank doesn't exist. He made it all up to chase a big story." I stared at him. I couldn't breathe. "What?" "Marcus, that's a lie. Tell them. Tell them about the tapes." Marcus shook his head slowly, a single tear rolling down his cheek. "He's in denial. And he destroyed the tapes to cover his tracks. I'm heartbroken. I was fired. Publicly. The Sentinel issued a full retraction of the story. They blamed a rogue junior reporter, Liam Kent, who violated every rule of journalistic ethics. Askreddit dropped their lawsuit. Marcus Thorne was praised for his integrity and for protecting the paper's honor. He kept his job. He kept his reputation. I was destroyed. Blacklisted. No paper would even look at my resume. I was the guy who fabricated a story. I was a journalistic pariah. I lost my apartment. I moved back to my hometown. For 7 years, I worked as a technical writer for a plumbing supply company. I wrote instruction manuals for toilets. The anger turned into a cold, hard knot in my stomach. I watched Marcus Thorne become the most trusted name in news. He won awards. He wrote books about the importance of truth. I had lost everything. The tapes were gone, seized by the Sentinel and mysteriously erased. My whistleblower, Frank, had vanished, probably paid off or threatened into silence. One rainy Saturday, I was cleaning out my parents' garage. I found a box of my old college stuff. Textbooks, old laptops. And at the bottom, an old, external hard drive. A brand I hadn't seen in years. I plugged it in. It whirred to life. It was 99% full of old essays and music. But there was one folder. Labeled, Project X, Encrypted. My hands started to shake. Project X was my codename for the Askreddit story. I typed in my old password. A password I hadn't used in a decade. The folder opened. And there it was. Frank_interview_01.wave Frank_interview_02.wave Frank_interview_03.wave. A full, unedited, 6-hour backup. I had been so paranoid, I'd backed up the files to an encrypted drive and then forgotten about it completely. I clicked play. And Frank's terrified, reedy voice filled the garage. "They're dumping it at night, Mr. Kent. They call it Project Midnight. Here are the shipping manifests." I didn't cry. I just smiled. The dead had returned to life. I didn't go to another newspaper. Who would believe me? The guy who cried wolf? No. I had to be smarter. I quit my job. I took my entire life savings and bought a high-end microphone and a laptop. I started a podcast. A tiny, independent, investigative podcast. I called it The Blacklist. For a year, I built an audience. I exposed small-town corruption. A crooked mayor. A real estate scam. I was thorough. I was ruthless. I was 100% accurate. I built a small, dedicated following of a few thousand listeners. Then, I heard the news. Marcus Thorne was set to receive the Journalist of the Decade award. A lifetime achievement. The ceremony would be broadcast live. It was time. I didn't contact the press. Not yet. First, I sent an email to the new CEO of Askreddit. The old one had retired. Subject, Marcus Thorne's fraud. Body, you were right about the Sentinel story 10 years ago. It was based on a lie. But the lie wasn't what you thought. I have proof that Marcus Thorne faked the retraction to save himself. I have proof he's a fraud. I'm sure your rival corporations would love to see this. 3 hours later, my phone rang. It was Askreddit's legal team. They were interested. But my plan wasn't to help them. It was just to light the fuse. The day before the award ceremony, I sent my entire Project X folder to 2 places. The New York Ledger, the Sentinel's biggest rival. The entire voting committee for the Journalist of the Decade award. The night of the ceremony. I was at home, watching the live stream. Marcus Thorne walked on stage to a standing ovation. He looked older, more distinguished. He held the heavy, beautiful award. "Truth," he began, his voice booming. "Truth is the only North Star. In a world of lies, our job, our duty, is to be the light. He was speaking. But I was watching Twitter. At 8:15 p.m., the New York Ledger published their story. Headline: The Sentinel's Shame, Tapes Prove Pulitzer winner Marcus Thorne framed junior reporter, stole story. On the live stream, I saw people in the front row suddenly looking at their phones. A murmur started in the crowd. Marcus paused. He looked confused. Our duty, he repeated, is to. That's when the audio hit the speakers. It wasn't Marcus's voice. It was my voice, from 10 years ago. So, Frank, you're saying they call it Project Midnight? And then, Frank's voice. Yes, Mr. Kent. Here are the manifests. Someone on the awards committee had given the audio to the tech booth. They were playing it. In the auditorium. Over the live stream. Marcus Thorne froze. The color drained from his face. He looked like a statue. The audio continued. Then, my voice again, this time from my podcast. My name is Liam Kent. For 7 years, the world has called me a fraud. The truth is that the fraud is standing on that stage, holding an award for it. Marcus dropped the award. It hit the stage with a heavy, metallic thud. He just stared at the audience, as his entire life collapsed in real time. The live stream cut to black. I didn't have to say another word. The industry I loved, which had thrown me away, did the rest. Marcus Thorne was fired. The Sentinel was forced to issue the largest retraction and apology in its 150-year history. They are now facing lawsuits from shareholders. Astrachem was re-investigated, and this time, the evidence stuck. They were fined billions. And me? My podcast, The Blacklist, now has 10 million listeners. I have my own media company. I hire the reporters who, like me, are willing to dig for the truth. I never got an apology from Marcus. I don't need one. I have his award. The committee mailed it to me a week later, with a simple note. We believe this belongs to you.